have to serve to. I don't think that exists at all.
Check
All
with
it's doing
the Adirondack area. They have to answer to a lot of extra rules and regulations once that byway is in place.
The document describes a situation where an overarching regional entity is formed that will eventually become the counterpart of the APA, and that the zoning oversight function will go to that overarching entity. And I hope somebody has explained to John Ingram that they're, might be taking his position. I understand that they want to consolidate it all into the CCC, which Peter Manning will head up, and they're looking to fund 3 positions, or they were. He's being let go, I think, this month as a full-time employee, but will be on a contract basis. So there are a lot of cross currents right now, and it will play out.
And there's mention of it being modeled after the APA. I mean, I have it with me.
It's more than a mention, it's a whole
Again,
plan.
I have a document full of little post-it notes. It's my fun part of my day.
I'd love to share that with you.
Pages. But, I agree. Not everything in it is bad, and not everything in it is good. It still needs work. And my conversation with Mr. Selkowitz a couple nights ago on the phone was that they understand that, and they're willing to make some changes, and they seem to think that the signs, I got the impression from him that he thought that the signs were the only real issue. I have issues other than just signs. I mean, signage to me is not a huge issue because we're already bound by whatever the Catskill Park says we're bound by. So it is what it is at this point, the signs. But there are other issues I have in the document that I'm not comfortable with, and we'll discuss them, and it's a give and take process.
And like everything else you heard here tonight, there was deadlines. If you remember, I asked him, Peter Manning, if there was a time limit, and he said no. So there are a lot of towns that right on up 28 that are coming up with skepticism about it, and I'm sure it'll all be worked out sooner or later. Drew, did you want to say something?
Yeah, I'd like to address the lady's comments about the city buying up land. Being on the planning board, a lot of times I see homeowners coming to the planning board to subdivide their land to sell a piece to the city. And so most of what I believe happens in our town is that someone that owns 20 acres and have a house on it, they separate off 5 acres to keep for themselves, and they sell 15 acres to the city. And I'm going to say 90% of the time when they do that, you wouldn't want that land developed anyway, because it's usually steep. It's like land that's along the Bushkill. So in one sense, it's most of the stuff I've seen, they're doing a good job protecting the waterways. And
Drive slow at Deerfield Road on the way home now.
And to some degree, I think that's good, because that person has the right to try to subdivide that into 1-acre lots and put a little subdivision on this slopey lot. And that's really not good for the town, particularly when you look at what happened with Irene. The only big piece of land I've seen the city buy has to do with the property the Joking Center is on, where the city, I think it was actually through one of the land trusts. The land trust, Open Space Institute bought all that property. Then they subdivided it, and the city took the part they wanted, and then the Joking Center got the rest of it, along with a big chunk of money to move their buildings.
Right. The city got the land that the Shokan Center wanted to sell them, not what they wanted.
Well, that's what I meant.
Phrases like that make me nervous.
Yeah, it goes back to
and I
the
understand
willing
what you're
seller,
saying.
somebody wants to sell their property.
The only comment I want to make on that is the land that the city is buying now, the assessment on that land stays the same. May go up, it doesn't go down. They can't challenge the assessment for 20 years. after 20 years, they can come in and say that it's forever wild or whatever their story's gonna be and get it reduced or whatever. But it doesn't, it has nothing to do with what we call reservoir land, which is what the assessment is, lawsuits are all about. And we have, I believe we're in what, the 3rd or 4th year with that. We made an agreement, a 10-year agreement with the city. We're happy with it, the city's happy with it, but in 10 years that has to be renegotiated. But we are out of lawsuits. We're not like Hurley at this particular time that is gonna bankrupt themselves if they don't watch out. So that land that they buy, the assessment stays the same for 20 years. I mean, there's an end to it.
And by the time that 20 years is up, I can assure you that the CWT will have started well ahead of that negotiation and an extension of that safeguard for the tax base, because it's very, very active on everybody's mind at every meeting I go to every month. So.
But it can't be developed. I mean, that's the bottom line, is that it can never be developed
That's
and give us
absolute-
more
that's-
taxes. So
Well, it can't
that's
be
the only
developed until the
downside.
city decides to
That's
sell it,
right. That's the only downside
But-
to it.
You're right, and that's true, but, I mean, I don't know what you want me to say. Do you want me to say, okay, the city can't buy your land?
No, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying the
So,
downside is
That's
that
right, but that's the choice you make when you sell your land to the city. So that's an individual choice, and that's the way it should be. It should be an individual
Yep.
choice. I've always advocated that.
Anything else? I want to thank everyone for keeping this an old-time meeting here, because I was really upset with the other one, and I hope I never see another one like it. Thank you all for coming. I will adjourn in the name of Betty Ann Clayton, Joseph Emmerich, Karen Esposito, Gail McGovern, and Dorothy Monaco. Thank you. What you up to there, Mr. Overtone? Sir, you looking for a signature? Okay. Very easy on the hand there. Don't
I'd like to see you down on Thursday. I'll say hi to you.